縛りつける君のかけらが深い闇に落ちた逃げることさえ許されない世界で君のことだけは守りたかったのに今も今でも誰かの優しい言葉より君だけの唇にそっと触れたい安定しないこの空もいつか
Good morning, exiles, and welcome back to The Downside. As we've just hit our first major milestone, I thought I'd open this episode up with a bit of a recap of our adventure so far, since this is a fairly narratively dense game, and even though we've still got a ways to go, we've also accomplished quite a bit. So, before we press on, let's rewind a little. After all, it's only by knowing where we've been that we can decide where we're going, and thus make our way forward with both confidence and clarity. Oh, and if you feel confident in your understanding of the adventure so far, feel free to skip to here if you would rather not watch the recap. Our journey across the Downside began when the trio of Hedwyn, a nomad, Ruki, a cur, and Jodariel, a demon, found us, barely alive, on the banks of a river in the furthest southern extent of the land. After nursing us back to health, it was determined that our character was a capital R reader, one able to, well, read. In the Commonwealth, the land above from which we and our new friends were exiles, this was a crime most heinous. However, this turned out to be just what they needed, as only a reader would be capable of leading a team of exiles, known as a triumvirate, through a series of competitions against other triumvirates. These contests, or rites, were ordained by the heavens, the location of each found beneath the brightest star in the sky at a given moment. The first such bout found our band of misfits squaring off against the yellow-clad Accusers, a triumvirate headed by the caustic Lendl the Liar, who seemed to have some sort of long-standing animosity towards our group, or at least those who wore our colors. However, we summarily dispatched the Accusers at the Ridge of Gold, and, seeing that our next contest was to the northwest, at the spring of Jomur beneath the remains of the Scorpion Titan, we moved on. En route to the spring, we came across a strange, mercurial girl, who after some deliberation revealed her name to be Ray, the Moon-Touched. As we needed a face to fit each of the 8 masks in our collection, she was invited along, much to her delight. Arriving at the spring of Jomur, we found ourselves arrayed against the triumvirate known as the Fate, led by the gentle cur Dalbert Oldheart, and his somewhat standoffish son, Almer. While they proved to be a good deal more personable than the Accusers had been, they offered scarcely more of a challenge, and so, having defeated them, we continued onwards, this time toward the fetid bogs of Flagging Hands. However, our journey was interrupted by a sudden profusion of wild imps that came upon us at the cairn of Haub, against which Ray valiantly volunteered to defend our vehicle. After holding her own against the horde, she came across something strange, an imp that displayed an uncommon degree of, perhaps, sentience? This was Tizo, a veteran contender in the rites, and indeed a former member of the Nightwings. Ah yes, the Nightwings, for that was the name of our triumvirate, revealed to us by the lone minstrel. He had been huddled in a dark corner of the wagons since we first came aboard, and though he briefly disappeared following the imp's attack, he returned just in time to formally introduce the group to its newest member, the imp Tizo, with whom he seemed quite familiar. They greeted each other as old friends, and so the journey continued. Before we could reach the swamps of Flagging Hands, we had another right to contest, this time against the vicious cur Barker Ashpaws and his triumvirate, the Dissidents. Prior to the match, it was revealed that Rookie had some sensitive history with Barker, and so he opted to sit out the match. However, this ultimately proved to be no disadvantage, and the trio of curs were swiftly curbed. Barker laughed off the defeat, bidding us to be on our way, and so we did. As we arrived at the outskirts of Flagging Hands, the minstrel revealed to us a new resource and personality dwelling within the wagon, something called a Beyonder Crystal, which housed a spectral triumvirate led by the blind, long-imprisoned Sandra. She offered her Beyonders for practice rites and 3-on-1 scribe trials for those worthy enough to compete in them, in exchange for relief from boredom, for she had been trapped in the crystal for near on a millennium by the time we met her, poor thing. Our progress through the oppressive, noisome swamps led to everyone's spirits flagging a bit, and so it was that our next rite, under the corpse of the Lovecraftian monstrosity Islach Astralborn, had us at a distinct disadvantage. Our opponent, the crone Udmilda, leader of the Withdrawn, brought her dark sorceries to bear during the rite, but despite these advantages, the Withdrawn were forced to withdraw in defeat. Having rested and regained our strength following the rite, we were somewhat at a loss as to how to proceed. Our next destination lay somewhere in the middle of the sea, and we had no means of reaching it. Luckily, we were able to leverage a connection to the Nightwing's mysterious benefactor, the enigmatic Sandalwood, and called in a favor at Big Bertrude's, a local mechanic. Bertrude and her cadre of capable caravan customizers were able to convert our wheeled conveyance into a seriously seaworthy ship, and, with a promise to present the bill to Sandalwood when we met him, she sped us on our way. The next rite took place atop the Hulk of Orus against the Worm Knight triumvirate, the Pyre Hearts, led by Sir Deluge, a character most craven. After vanquishing the Serpentine trio, one of the knights, the valorous and effusive Sir Gilman, decided that he'd finally had enough of his commanding officer's cowardly, venal ways, and opted to jump ship, joining up with the Nightwings instead. This proved a thoroughly advantageous asset, as the way to the next rite was barred by the roaring wall of water known as the Deathless Tempest. However, the fearless Sir Gilman ventured forth into the maelstrom and cleared out a clutch of Titan eggs that, through some unknown means, were providing the impetus for the Tempest. His heroic efforts caused the watery barrier to recede, and so the Nightwings proceeded northwards.
Sorrowful tears and filled the waters high. The misty morning over the brine relies a leaden sky. The stars all hide away from the chill until the
Accompanied by the minstrel's lilting song, we sailed across a frozen stretch of the Sea of Solis, eventually making landfall on the burning shores of Flame Lake, which was further north than any in the group had ever traveled, save for the minstrel and perhaps Tizo. As we traversed the molten crags and fiery calderae, the more observant among the group were plagued by a sensation of being watched from above, their eyes struggling to follow dark shapes that flitted between the cliff tops and clouds of acrid smoke. The minstrel, noting the group's discomfort, ventured off on his own again, promising to secure safe passage for the group, although safe from whom he would not say. He returned shortly thereafter with promising news that the Nightwings would be allowed to continue up to the fiery nest of Triesta, unhindered by the region's hidden denizens. As the group reached the top, these shadowy figures resolved into a band of winged woman warriors, the harps of the High Wing remnants. These fierce airborne Amazons were ancient enemies of the Commonwealth, against whom Jodariel had long served on the famed Blood Border in her previous life as a soldier. The group found itself caught in a feud between two harp sisters, Tamitha and Pamitha Thane, the former of whom commanded the all-harp triumvirate, the Essence, while the latter opted to join the Nightwings on a provisional basis. Her purpose in doing so was twofold. She offered her aid against the Essence and, in exchange, permission to join the Nightwings as a means of escaping her sister's cold fury. As before, the Nightwings triumphed over the Essence, making full use of Pamitha and Tizo's ability to fly over the molten crevasses that broke up the playing field, before moving on. Having left the regions both fiery and watery behind, our odd little family arrived at last at the edge of the Waking Wood, a dense, choking tangle of roots and branches that stretched all the way to the far edge of the land. It was here that we were to finally meet our mysterious benefactor, the aforementioned Sandalwood, owner of the Black Wagon and architect of our adventure's itinerary. After Tizo retrieved a message from the man, the group proceeded through the woods to the glade of Cinderroot, where Sandalwood at last revealed himself. Not as a man, in fact, but as a sap, a race of sentient tree people, whose flesh is bark, and whose knowledge runs deep. Volfred Sandalwood, as was his full name, introduced himself to the group and greeted the minstrel and Tizo as the fondest of friends. After making introductions, he offered the reader the opportunity to cede the reins of command to himself, but we, having grown quite attached to the incidental family that had assembled itself around Volfred's wagon, our bonds forged through shared adversity and the contests of the rights, declined the offer. This Volfred accepted with grace, and came aboard, although with the proviso that he would refrain from participating in the rites, for the time being. The Nightwings, now at last complete again, or so it seemed, continued through the woods to the appointed location of the next rite. Here they met the Chastity, a triumvirate led by the self-aggrandizing, oleaginous H. Manly Tinderstuff, the scion of a wealthy family from the Commonwealth, and a sap, like Volfred. Despite Manly's entreaties to the reader to throw the match, so that they might, in his words, both benefit, the Nightwings declined to acquiesce, and roundly thwarted the Chastity's bid for victory. Manly departed in a flamboyant huff, and the Nightwings looked once again to the stars to determine their course. This time, however, we found something altogether different. Instead of a regular rite awaiting us, a new star burned at the apex of the heavens, unmistakable even to those barely familiar with the lore of the rites and the scribes who devised them. Solium, the golden star, named for the fallen emperor of the Commonwealth, the progenitor of the demon race, and first among equals of the 8 scribes, burned bright over Solium's fall. This reverse waterfall that rose from the temple atop Mount Elodiel, the mightiest of the peaks presiding over the downside's northernmost reaches, was our destination. Whatever the next rite held, it was something momentous. Something final. After a night's rest, the group set out with the dawn through the icy reaches of the Sklorian shore, where Volfred revealed to all just what awaited us at the roof of the world. At the end of every cycle of rites, the most successful of the triumvirates was to traverse the Scribe's Gate that barred the way to Solium's fall, and meet the Nightwings there, to test their mettle against the triumvirate ordained by the scribes themselves as the adjudicators of fate. For this was the origin and purpose of the Nightwings. The winner of this final rite would be able to nominate one member of their group to dive into the rising waters, where they would be conveyed up, out of the downside, and return to the Commonwealth in glory, their sins forgotten and forgiven. Now, fully grasping the gravity of the challenge that awaited us atop the mountain, the Nightwings began our ascent, pausing briefly at a few storied stops to pay respects to the scribes and to those who came before. Finally, we reached the Scribes' Gate, where we encountered the portal's guardian, Celeste, the minstrel's female counterpart. It was revealed that the man in white's name was Tariq, and that he and Celeste shared a history, although of what that might be, naught was said. She bade the members of the group state their purpose in passing the Scribes' Gate. Each did so in turn, revealing a piece of themselves and their past as they did so. When at last she came to Volfred, she greeted him as a former member of the Nightwings of old, an intriguing tidbit about the sap that none had yet guessed. Finally, it was the reader's turn. When asked who he was, he stated that he was a disgraced scholar, cast down for the sin of literacy, and his reason for achieving Solium's fall, to assist his friends in any way he could. Seemingly satisfied with this, Celeste allowed the last of the Nightwings to pass, before bidding Tariq to accompany her elsewhere. Assembling on the other side of the Scribes' Gate, the Nightwings squared off with their rivals in the bid for ultimate clemency, the fearsome Tempers, led by the brutal Ignarius. After trading barbs, the triumvirates retreated to their respective quarters to prepare for the rite. As far as who would be chosen to be pardoned, the first member of each triumvirate selected would be the one nominated. The Tempers naturally put Ignarius forward. Following much deliberation, the reader of the Nightwings named Ruki as the one who would return in glory to the Commonwealth above. As the rite began, the whereabouts of the two balladeers became clear. Standing atop pillars overlooking the sacred ground, they serenaded the contenders with a piece describing the two triumvirates. As each vied for victory under the sacred light emanating from the stars, mixed with the white-gold glow from the fall of Solium itself, the song rose to a crescendo. And then, the rite was over, in what seemed an all-too-brief moment, quick and sharp, just like the winner, Ruki Greentail, of the Nightwings. In a bittersweet celebration, the Cur became the first exile to return to the Commonwealth of the recent age. As he rose through the shining waters of Solium's fall, he howled his goodbyes to the wind, his fond farewells drifting down to his companions as they looked on, some in awe, some in tears. As they rested and recuperated following the rite, the reader joined Volfred outside the wagon to scout the heavens for their next destination, only to find that the stars had gone dark. Quelling the group's alarm, Volfred specified that this was a normal occurrence following the conclusion of a cycle of rites, and that they need only wait, perhaps for a few weeks, perhaps a month or more, and then the cycle would begin anew. And that brings us back to the present. So, here we are, all caught up. If this is your first episode, thanks very much for joining me. I'm November Bravo, and I hope you decide to stick around. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. It's lovely to see you. Having reiterated the events leading up to the present, we now rejoin the Nightwings as they make their way down the mountainside to a secluded campsite, a regular haunt of Volfred's from his days in the Nightwings of old, waiting for the stars to once again burn bright and illuminate the vault of the heavens. So, let's once again dive into the world of Pyre. Gonna miss Ruki, but, when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. All we can do is look ahead. Let's see what the good Sir Gilman wants. After the liberation rite, you find Sir Gilman in an uncharacteristically quiet and contemplative mood. He salutes you crisply with his tail. Glory to you, Master Reader, and glory to the noble Ruki Greentail. Long may he prosper in the Commonwealth. and in doing so, may he benefit the plan into which we have all been thrust. Then he falls silent for a time. You sense him growing very, very emotional, as if he wasn't already all the time, as if very emotional wasn't his, default state. In noble Ruki, this knight found a kindred spirit, Master Reader. One of questionable honor, the greatest cunning, and such blinding speed as to befit a minstrel's tale. This knight fears our triumvirate lost something irreplaceable in him. Of course, this knight is also pleased that Ruki has achieved his freedom, very much so. And furthermore, this knight shall now continue training even harder than before. Ruki Greentail! This knight shall train on and on, until such time as he is swifter than the jagged lightnings of the deathless tempest. Now, Master Reader, this knight must beg his leave of you, for it is time, not for his rest, but for his training. Know that he is very grateful for your wisdom and your guidance in these rites. Between yourself and Master Ruki, you have instilled within this knight an unshakable resolve. He bows low and bids you a good evening. Oh. Well, as I said, I'm gonna miss Ruki too. Yep, and you can see here, Ruki status liberated. Let's see, we should have a new page here. Yep. The mercy shown, in the words of Gul Gulathenian, the Master General. The Imp Haub and I, we helped save my Emperor. And when the danger did subside, my Emperor Solium Mur, he said something to me, which shook me to the essence of my being. He said, "You gave your freedom, Master Gulathenian, so that I may yet have mine. You too now are an exile of the downside. In all the days which I have left, I never could repay the mercy you have shown me. So if I cannot do so in this life, then I shall do it in the next." We crossed the land together, and together with the imp we gained the company of those who saw in him what I did. Interesting. The plot thickens. You have returned, have you? What is it you require? Let's see what Sandra's thinking. This place, where you currently reside, it must be Mount Alodiel, is it not? This is where those blasted scribes decided what to do with me. I had already failed in my mission to eliminate the demon Solium Mur. I did not anticipate his retinue, you see. Solium Mur, 8th of the 8 scribes of the Book of Rites, known as the First Exile or the Last of his name. And that's capital L, capital H, capital N. A once proud emperor who neglected his nation and found penitence in the downside. They took me and some of my Beyonders alive, although do not expect to see account of that in their good book. Whether it was for mercy or for spite, I never became certain. They probably presumed that my expulsion for eternity would eventually have taught me some respect for them, but no, not yet. Not yet. Well, I do not mean that, really. The scribes did spare my life, and were it not for that I would never have been thusly trapped to then enjoy your company, O lovely reader. Now, having met my quota of blaspheming for the time, I think it best we resume the normal sort of business between us, if there's any to speak of. And, good hunting at the precipice. May you soon rid the downside of some useless idiot. Oh, we've got new info on Sandra. She's an apparition from the age of Emperor Solium Mur, who pursued him in his exile. Well, I don't think anybody's ready for a scribe trial yet, and I don't think we really need any practice, so let's say bye for now. Let us do this all again sometime. Oh, we will. We will. Alright. Let's see where we're headed next. Good morning, my boy. The place I noted earlier. Let me illuminate the way. Down we go to the Moonlight Alcove. A small landing on the dark side of the Sacred Mountain. Wolfred indicates you can await the next cycle of rites here. Okay, so we've got a bit of downtime. More than the usual. As you'll soon see, every time after you finish a cycle of rites, you get a month or so to kind of kick back and ruminate on things. Wolfred leads all of you into a calm and quiet clearing, tucked away inside one of the mountain's hidden folds. All about you see a variety of strange items and equipment. And someone wants to chat. Ah, of course. Wolfred smoking that. Wow, that is a big pipe. You find Wolfred seemingly lost in thought. Then he turns to you. Greetings, reader. This wagon and I weave many memories together, and I could not help reliving some of them just now. I suppose some aspects of my past may be of relevance to you, given your role. If there is something that you wish to know, you need but ask. Wolfred invites you to inquire about his past. Well, let's see what our options are. We can ask what he did to earn his sentence. Wolfred reminds you of someone you heard about long ago in the Commonwealth. Ask why the Nightwings disbanded. The triumvirate of which you are now a part seems to have a storied history. That it does. Ask how he knows Tariq, the lone minstrel. The two of them seem to be old acquaintances. How long have they known one another? Or ask to be excused. There is no need to take up more of Wolfred's valuable time right now. Oh, I don't think we need to be excused just yet. I think we should ask something. I can't remember if he only lets us ask one thing or if we can ask everything, so... let's ask about the Nightwings. You express interest in knowing more of how the Nightwings came to be here and Wolfred's past connection to the group. I have been connected to the Nightwings almost since the beginning of my days in exile. They found me, in a manner as I understand, quite like how Hedwyn and the others found you. Back then, it was a smaller group than we have now. I joined an exile called Erisa, and another known as Oralech. Erisa, a former exile of the Nightwings who conducted the rites alongside Wolfred and Oralech. And Oralech, a former exile of the Nightwings who conducted the rites... Yeah, okay. Once in a while, we let little Tizo stand in with us as well. He is rather older than he looks. The other triumvirates we stood against, they feared us. Only the Tempers presented any threat to us in any given right. But there was a terrible accident. Erisa, we lost her. And Oralech, he was my friend. He fell from Mount Alodiel. We lost him as well. On the night when he was to be free. We were reckless, hasty, and I was powerless to stop any of it. I blamed the rites themselves, circumstances that put us into danger. The downside has claimed many lives, yet it was too much. I vowed never again to don the mask and raiments. I had the Black Wagon cleared and buried, such that it could not be used again. If the Nightwings would rise again, it would be under different circumstances, under new leadership, and towards a different purpose. That is all I wish to say of this, my boy. Okay, so we can't ask everything. Okay, well, let's ask how he knows Tariq. You ask Volfred about his history with the Lone Minstrel, whom he seems to know quite well. Tariq was there with the Nightwings when they took me on. His manner has always been much as you've seen, although he is somewhat more cheerful now than I recall back then, if you can believe that. I think our plan has sparked a little fire in him. Plan? Let's see. Okay, so the only thing that changes is the probability of success. So I think it was at like 17 before, or something like that, and now that Rookie's up top again, it's up to 24. So that's nice. He serves the Rights and the Nightwings. I have tried to ask him of his past before, but he seems rather reluctant to speak of it. Though it is plain that he's not from around here. This being the downside, I respect his wishes for some privacy. Nonetheless, although I do not know too much of him, I count him as a friend. I lost track of him for some time, though it was he who first informed me that the Nightwings had returned. He and Tizo were instrumental in our meeting. It's been good to see him doing relatively well. Anyway, was there anything else you wish to talk about for now? Well, I guess we can ask about what he did to earn his sentence, if it's not too personal. I suppose he'll tell us if it is. You ask Volfred about his past in the Commonwealth and how it is he came to be in the downside. How rather forward of you, my boy. Most whom I have met during my travels here have been reluctant to approach the subject of one's history before one's exile. Nonetheless, I am happy to tell you. As a reader, I assume you are familiar with the stamping press. I owned and operated one. Stamping press, an illegal invention allowing written materials to be published at an extraordinary rate. In 617 AS, the Commonwealth was under siege from within, as anti-theocratic propaganda quickly spread. Okay, so it's basically the Pyre version of a printing press. I took issue with the Commonwealth, the ban on literacy, the interminable wars against the Highwing remnants. I spread the truth about it all with my machine. Under pseudonym, of course. Still, I knew I was putting myself at risk, and sure enough, my stamping press was eventually discovered and burned to the ground. I, however, managed to elude capture. For a while. But not for long enough. Here in the downside, I chanced upon the Nightwings, who were searching for a reader. In that respect, my past, I think, is similar to yours. Anyway, that is the long and short of it. Now then, was there anything else? I think that's all for now, so let's ask to be excused. You thank Volfred for his time and bid him a good rest of the afternoon. Likewise to you, reader. Be well. Alright. Well, I guess now there's naught to do but bide our time. Everyone, the amenities here are modest here at Moonlight Alcove, but I suggest that you get comfortable. We may be here for some time. Moonlight Alcove, a small landing on the dark side of the Sacred Mountain. For many years, Volfred smuggled supplies and furnishings to this well-hidden locale. Yeah, it looks like he's got a little tower going here. Can't see it because of the text box, but there was a well. As for myself, I have some business to attend to. Please leave the wagon in my care for now. It shall be ready by when you next need it. From the mountaintop, you can see all across the downside. Its impossible expanse staring back at you. The thought occurs to you that you may never see another land besides it. And so, you and your companions wait upon the mountaintop in quiet solitude, anticipating when the cycle of rites begins to turn again. Then, you shall have another opportunity to free one of your own. You may earn back their freedom one by one. Many moons pass. Then one evening, may I have a moment, reader? The lone minstrel finds you poring over the Book of Rites, as has been your leaning through your stay at this abode. Begging your pardon, but there is something you may wish to see. Please, follow me. You follow him into the cold night. Ah, look at that. We got some shaft of light. Look forth, reader, sir. The stars shine like you have never seen. Once more the path towards salvation is revealed, but now something is different. The stars shine once more. Ah, do you note the critical difference there? It's not the star, it's stars, plural. So we seek now our destination. Now we've got a choice. Each prior time you searched the stars, they showed you a single path, but now several rites avail themselves to you at once. Henceforth, you may choose from several different rites. See, I told you this game is all about choice. Now that we've kind of gotten our feet wet, so right now Solium is looking especially ominous, as it's gone from being a shining golden star to what I can only assume is a black hole. So let's see what our options are. We've got Horus, the Azure Star, so we can challenge Lendl and his accusers here. We've got Milith, the Bog Star, we can challenge Sir Deluge if we feel like subjecting ourselves to that. Or the Haub, the Midnight Star, if we feel like going up against Dalbert and his jerk of a son. Well, I don't feel like dealing with Sir Deluge right now, and I always feel bad for facing off against Dalbert because he's such a nice guy. Lendl is also a jerk, but I don't feel bad about facing off against him, and he's not nearly as annoying as Sir Deluge, so let's head back to the Hulk of Horus, in the middle of the Sea of Solace. See if we can't make it 2-0 against the accusers. After all, he can only get more bitter, right? The stars urge that we go to the hulk of Horus, a long way off. Volfred, sir, how are we to reach the hulk of Horus in due course of time? You know full well, Tariq. Preparations are complete. You think you see the lone minstrel smile, ever faintly, but cannot be sure. Please ask the others to gather their belongings. Rest and then assemble at the wagon there at dawn. We shall be departing at that time. As you will, sir. The cycle begins anew. As the years advanced, you'll find there ought to be fewer rites this time, until once more we are to traverse Scribe's Gate. Exactly how many, it is difficult to say, but our next chance at liberty ought present itself much sooner than before. So let's be ready for it. Now then, see you in the morning, reader. Your companions have not traveled far from Moonlight Alcove. Word of the news soon spreads throughout the group. Alright. Time to move along. Next morning, Volfred calls everyone together before the black wagon. This old wagon is more than it appears. With Bertrude's aid, it escorted you across the sea to me. Now, it shall escort us anywhere the stars require. Come and see. Volfred beckons you to join him in the wagon. Okay, step inside. Something has changed about the wagon's interior. I'd say a couple of somethings. What looked before to be old cracks and signs of age now expose various intricate components once hidden from view. You are the Nightwings. You should travel in their customary way. He turns to you, indicating levers and devices marked with symbols from the book. Now, reader, whenever you're ready, you may take us up. I'll show you how. And everyone else, hang on to something. Alright. After having soared into the sky, the black wagon remains aloft. Somehow. Oh, by the scribes! I can't believe it. Impossible. The Nightwings sail the skies again, wheresoever the stars may call for them. There is one catch. The downside provides few locales suitable for landing, though we should be able to find at least a couple landing places near to where we're going. We'll then make way by land or sea toward our destination. Now, without further ado, let us proceed. The black wagon can fly! Yeah, I see that. The wings tipped me off. Seek landing near the hulk of Horus. Well, we shall sail now the skies. So, while we're sailing now the skies, anytime you see one of those little pulsing kind of bubble things, it's a little text box that gives a little bit of background or maybe a conversation. So they don't pop up very often, but I like to look for them whenever they show up. The inverted fall of Solium roars into the sky. Somewhere beyond it lies the Commonwealth, beyond your vision and beyond your grasp. For now. Alas, that we can't simply fly on back up to our homeland. This wagon has its limitations, I'm afraid. but we shall return yet. Let us continue now along the path. Alright. So you can hold R to do this little boost and end it with a sort of little kick. In fact, you can also run into people. Sisters! We are under attack! Oh yeah, I'm changing Tamitha's accent because it wasn't distinctive enough, so I'm giving her kind of a more of a regional sounding. Hold. No. We are merely being mocked by none other than the Nightwings. Mock us all you wish then, wastrels of the Commonwealth. The sight of you in that utterly outlandish wagon, your mere existence is an affront to the act of flight. Would that my sisters and I could soar tireless and free as once we did, but nay. We must resort to such ignoble means of travel, such as you. Now stay away from us, lest our vengeance should extend beyond your commonwealth and become much more personal in nature. Fine. Jeez. I was just demonstrating a little bit of a gameplay element there, but you know, whatever. The Hulk of Horus. It has drifted here upon the sea for longer than one might expect. Perhaps you have already read of the doomed ship's demise in the embrace of unfathomed plurness. Some say it was the sea itself which preserves the ship's remains. Hidden properties within the water, sea creatures, binding together ruined planks of wood. Those such as yourselves and the accusers know another truth, I gather. The stars would not align over the wreckage if it did not have greater significance than first appears. May you have good fortune there, during the coming rite. Alright, so we can land on Ragged Rock. The north current towards Stormwall passes by old carcasses of ships long gone, and you sense that Sir Gilman may gain a deeper understanding of the rites along this route, or we can land at Under King Pass. Ray believes the 8 scribes shall bless you here. Yeah, let's go for a blessing for Ray. I'm feeling slightly paternal. You touch down at the Sea of Solace, where you first encountered Sir Gilman and the Pyre Hearts. As you make time to check the wagon's subsystems for any signs of excess strain resulting from your voyage through the skies, and your crash with Tamitha, one of your companions gets your attention. Wow, that was exciting! Maybe someday you could fly us to the stars? Ray assists you with the remainder of the work, and together you conclude that everything seems to be in order. You soon shall carry on by sea. For now, you have some time to spare. Oh. So first we've got a conversation in the Black Wagon. Let's see what this is. Oh, we got some new pages too. And Wakingwood Wisps. The wisps inside provide a scarce bit of light when it is needed, all for a low monthly fee. Okay, so it's just a little light. That's cute. Have a drink and, you know, poke the imps like we always do. Okay. Sir Gilman wants to talk. Sir Gilman is shivering there after the Black Wagon's maiden voyage through the skies. Master Reader, this night is very slightly out of sorts. is all. He merely appears terrified, but he assures you that his seeming cowardice is but an optical illusion. In this case, Pamitha overhears and joins you. Flying's not for everyone, Sir Knight. This knight heartily concurs, though how anyone at all can stand it he has yet to understand. Well, let's see. What's it like to swim in the waters of the Sea Dominion? Ah, those glorious, murky waters, engulfed in hideous warfare to be sure, but otherwise a joy to cut across, to feel the coolness of the waves beneath one's gill slits and the like. Though this knight is now accustomed to his life above the surface. Flying's just the same, Sir Knight. It resists those of us not born to it. I, in turn, have wondered what your seas are like. But the thought of swimming fills me with disgust. Though I haven't had to swim, you now have to fly. It's very brave of you. And you handled it better than some harp fledglings I've met in my day. You'll get used to it. She departs, but you sense Sir Gilman is feeling better after the exchange. Yeah, he got +1 hope. We shall wish him well. And we've also got this floating grease stone. Exhibits a flagrant disregard for natural law, thus providing light entertainment. While also providing a sort of very pleasing tone. Let's see. Oh god, that's right, we've got like a ton of new pages. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do, since we have like a whole mess of new pages. From now on, I think I'm gonna save my voice a bit by just showing you guys the pages, if that's okay. So I'll navigate to each one and just pause on it for a second. If you want to read it, you can pause it. If not, no harm, no foul. So we've got we've got one book for each of the scribes. So book 1, Golgolathanian, the Master General. Book 2, Jomir Menimane, the Alpha Chief, who's the Cur, represented by Ruki, who's now gone. This way I also don't have to come up with a new voice for each of the scribes. So here's Living in Exile. Okay, next we've got Forsaken Lands, in the words of Molten Melith, the Wild Witch. Then we have Celestial Landmarks, in the words of Luce Glorian 100 Mines, the Scholar, who is a sap, like Volfred. We're still missing 2 books. We've also got 9 Triumvirates, in the words of Haub the Swallow, the Accursed, who is an imp like Tizo. And on Commonwealth, in the words of Trista Tithys, the Blessed Born, who is a winged harp like Pamitha. So, we are missing the Worm and the Demon, I guess. Let's see if we got a new conversation from Sandra. Once more, you have returned to me. What is it, dear reader? Ah, my best friend in all the world, come to visit me again. Does it make you uncomfortable, perhaps, that I call you thus? Perhaps you think that you do not yet know me very well. But I know you just fine. You reveal a great deal to me when you come visit me like this. You're not the only one who can sense things in others, you know. She laughs to herself. One learns to read a bit when forced to suddenly appear within a book for 837 years or so. Especially if one is wont to pry a little, you understand. For it gets rather boring here. I know all about you. A crippled scholar who vowed to help his friends be free again, only to end up spending all his time talking to an apparition stuck in a stone. Oh, I know about your loves, or lack thereof, about your favorite pastimes, certain habits you may be somewhat loath to admit. Fear not, of course. I use this special knowledge only as a means to entertain myself, I think. And if you don't like it, why, just keep your distance, like so many of your predecessors. As for the other Beyonders, they are as wraiths to me, as I must seem to all those idiots with whom you consort. I cannot confide as easily in my own kind as I am able to confide in you. But I suppose that I have said too much. Thank you, as ever, for the visit. You've given me a lot to think about. More than you know. She laughs again, softly. Oh, let's say bye for now. I shall be here, if you need me. Wait, hold on. There was still a sparkling. Did I miss a page? Oh, I did miss a page. So we got multiple pages here. Okay. Sea of Solace. And Mount Alodiel. Alright, now we're caught up on the book. Another drink real quick. And now we can gaze upon the depths. Ray asks that you join her by the relatively placid waters here. You find Ray gazing down into the depths. The water is so very beautiful, and yet it's very dangerous. They always said it's very dangerous if you fall in or drink enough of it. But the scribes, they have protected us. And they're watching. I just know. Even out here in the waters of Under King Horus, they urge us on. I feel it. I just know. There's no denying that the North Current sends you quickly on your way. Perhaps it's the thought of reaching land again. But you can sense a spring in everybody's step. Let me guess. +1 hope. 2 quickness. Oh, that's nice. Alright, time to journey onward. Oh, and we get vocations. Nice. Okay. Before we do vocations, let's check and see who could benefit from it. Okay, so Hedwyn could get a level. Jody, no. Ray, no. Tizo, no. Gilman, yes. Oh, we should do Gilman. He still hasn't leveled up at all. Okay. Let's give Gilman a level then. He deserves a talent. He's been so dutiful. This knight shall be your eager protege! You ask Sir Gilman to explain to you in his own words the histories of the 8 scribes, and speak to how their varied backgrounds form the basis not just of the rights, but of the Commonwealth. Alright. Huzzah! Great wisdom clouds over this knight's entire consciousness. Okay, so let's see what we've got in terms of masteries for Sir Gilman. Let's see, we've got the Depths of the Sea Sojourner, rights masteries enhancing a worm's carefree and unpredictable nature. The Underking traveled all across the seas and survived many perilous adventures. Or Tactics of the Underking, rights masteries enhancing a worm's maneuvers inspired by their traditional undersea warfare. There is no limbless undersea-faring warrior who has surpassed Under King Horus, though his kind keeps trying. Okay, so we've got tactics or carefree and unpredictable. Let's see. Valiant return. If all of them are banished, he shall instantly return. That's handy. The one vow the sea sojourner was unable to keep was his vow to one day return to the sea dominion. Or avenging aid. After Sir Gilman banishes an adversary, one of his banished allies shall instantly return. Ooh, I like that. The Underking promised over time to seek justice for more than 3,000 of his fallen brethren. Let's see what our other options for each of these trees are. Once per round, freezes all exiles. Sir Gilman's allies are banished, he moves faster. For 10 seconds after banishing an adversary, he does plus damage. After using his slash, he can use it again, so he can zip back and forth, that's cool. And wider F area of effect, and after using his slash, he gets a recover. Okay, so I'm thinking definitely tactics. I like that a lot. This knight loves the Under King Horus, the best of all, of course. Oh, that's right, because we were talking about the histories of the scribes. Alright, let's press on. We've still got a right to get to. At dawn, everyone seems to have recovered from the rigors of your maiden voyage across the skies. It is time to return to the Hulk of Horus and confront the accusers once again. Alright, so, to the Hulk of Horus. You know, I'd really love to know, to see what the Titans looked like in their unkilled forms. The artwork is so intriguing. I mean, just look at all these tentacles and eyes, but they've also got hands. It's impaled on the, you know, wreck of this ship. And, so fascinating. I guess we can see them, actually. Although, I guess that's kind of a spoiler. Well, you'll see. Who wants to talk? Ray wants to talk. Oh yeah, there's the sail up here. Canvas wings. The Black Wagon is flight capable, though by which means you do not fully grasp yet. Here, I'll go over the new pages real quick before we talk to Ray. So we've got... Tell you what, just for grins, I will keep reading the pages from Golgolothanian's book, since I've been doing that so far. Let's see. Okay. The 8 scribes, in the words of Golgolothanian the Master General. We found each of the others in due time, by fate, not by coincidence. The wise Lou Sklorian stood among the trees, gazing at the stars, expecting us. The wild witch Melith was so enthralled by my liege's utter transformation, she stayed her sorceries. Blessed-born Triesta swooped down upon us, but to warn of imminent attack. The many-maned Jomur thus intervened and shared with us his humor and his hunt. Even the Under King Horus himself sought out an audience with us. Thus we became the 8 and journeyed on together. Then we've got another page from Melith as well. Or no, from Lou Sklorian, excuse me. Yeah, just the one page. Alright. The Hulk of Horus. Alright, let's see what Ray wants. Ray seems to be talking to the Black Wagon's walls again, though this time something seems to have come over her. Little brother, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? You're unsure whether to check in with her or leave her be. Ray is acting rather odd even for her. So we can wait and listen. Ray would not be here if she lacked the capacity to work through her problems or get her attention. Your concern for her is such that you had best check in to make sure she's alright. Oh, come on. Is this even a question? No. We're going to make sure she's okay. Though Ray is clearly capable of surviving on her own, you do worry for her, and in this case, make an attempt to reach out to her. Oh, hi, mister. I don't think I saw you there just now, and so, my little brother here and I, we were just talking for a little while. Well, I was the one doing my talking. My little brother, he's just a wagon wall, so he can't respond. He can't respond. But he can listen, and he listens really well. Now I'd like to get back to my conversation here with him if you don't mind. You're welcome to stay, though, if you like. Seems Ray's doing alright, after all. Ray wishes to continue her conversation. She did invite you to say, perhaps you will learn something of her, if we keep listening. Or we can leave her be. Her conversation seems to you to be a private matter and not your concern. Well, she invited us to stay, so let's see what she has to say. You decide to take Ray up on her invitation and keep listening to her conversation with the wagon wall. Her little brother, as she calls it. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, I remember. It's that they always said there was nothing wrong. There was something wrong with me. I just completely read that wrong. So they always said there was something wrong with me, but they wouldn't really tell me what. They said I was moon-touched. But so what? Moon-touched. Those deemed impaired by Commonwealth standards, or very different, in a negative sense. So I guess moon-touched is kind of like, loca, as they would say, south of the border. So then, the scribes, they called me here. They're the ones who brought me here, not those people. They were so cruel. They were always so cruel. I didn't have a little brother at the time. No one that I recall, really, although so much of it back then, I can't tell how much of it I dreamt. Most of it, I didn't want it to be true. But I remember that they threw me out. They decided they would throw me out and let the scribes take care of me, they said. The scribes, they would take care of me. It was so very quiet here, and I was all alone again. Although I think I liked it more, being alone down here, than being alone back there. Everybody's alone down here, and so it makes me feel less alone, somehow. Back there, why, I would see families, brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, but here, there was hardly anyone at all. But I knew that I was closer to the scribes. I knew they were in the sky above. And I did search for them up there, And then one night, I found them. I saw the stars, and they were falling to the ground. And I thought, why is it the scribes themselves are crying? Are they sad, and maybe, are they sad for me? Well, that was when I first saw you, little brother. With your help, I would get closer to the scribes. That way, maybe they could answer all my questions. Don't you think? But I'm so very glad I found you. And the others. I'm finally not alone. I'm finally not alone, and more importantly, I think sometimes I even feel that way. That I'm not alone. Maybe as we get closer, maybe I'll get to feel that way more often. Being here. Or being anywhere. With you. And all my friends. She falls silent. Though you were concerned for her at first, you sense that now she is at peace. She wanders off, faintly smiling. You sense you have a better understanding of her now. Oh, her bio is updated. That's nice. Let's see what it says now. Alright, so now that we've taken a look at the additions to Ray's bio, let's get to the right. Or actually, we should visit Falconron first, see what he's got for sale. Although I think we're running kind of low on... Oh, we're really running low on funds. Whoa, hey guys! Let me tell you something real quick. Now, I happen to have heard that Mr. Greentail, he's moved on. Something like that, right? Well, I just want you to know he was one of my favorite customers. Because of that, I'm giving you the same great deals. Okay? Excuse me, I think I went a little cockney there. Well, that's just too good of a deal to pass up. And we've also got this new thing, Twilight Shard. +2 damage, although I bet we could buff that up. But yeah, let's grab this Stardust. And let's see what talisman we can level up. Okay, so... yeah, let's keep buffing the quickness talisman. +7 quickness. Alright, and say goodbye to Ron for now. Pleasure doing business with you guys, so alright, let's commence the rite. Here, among the sprawling waters of the hulk of Orus, you await the signal of the stars. There is no sign yet of your expected adversaries, the accusers. Then, the little imp Tizo flutters up to you. Tizo cautions you that he has some history with your next adversary, Lendl. Tizo seems to be indicating that Lendl has a personal vendetta against him. But before he can explain anything further, the stars begin to call to you. Well, that doesn't sound good. Does that mean we can't use Tizo for this right? Does that mean we should definitely use Tizo for this right? I guess we'll see.
Reader, ever persevering, aren't we?
I try.
Well then, rejoice, because the cycle of the rites begins anew.
Yay.
Perhaps you'll liberate another soon enough. Your chosen adversaries here shall be the accusers. Reduce their flame to ash, just as you did when last you met. Now, who exactly shall oppose them?
Good question. Your companions are assembled and ready for the rites to commence. However, there is still no sign of your adversaries, the accusers. Well, their pyre is alight. The little imp Tizo screeches something, cautioning you all to stay alert. But then, someone leaps forth from the shadows. He grabs at his mask. Aha! Cut out, you miserable beast. I knew it. After all this time, I knew that you were still among their ranks. Tizo is angry to have stumbled into an apparent trap laid for him by Lendl. Silence, fiend. You robbed me of my freedom, my dignity. Your evil shall be ended here, and now. And you, Nightwing, shall not deny me thus again.
Come then, my accusers. For we face again none other than the spawn of the accursed imp Haub the Swallow. Let us show him now that he is a disgrace!
Tizo whistles something angry back at him. Whatever transpired between him and Lendl in the past, Lendl evidently has not let it go. Gee, you think? Oh good, they have the Ashen Coal, so they get plus 30 to their pyre.
Come, accusers. Let us make clear to those fools that we are stronger now than ever!
You sense that Lendl speaks the truth. The accusers are more capable than before. So as we level up, with each cycle of rites, the enemy triumvirates level up as well. Yep, each time you face a triumvirate, they gain talismans and masteries. Masteries, special proficiencies in the rites, blah blah blah. Each of the 8 scribes develops. You know what they are. They're the, level up skills, abilities, whatever.
Now let us get started.
Let's see. So they've got that Ashen Coal, which gives them plus 35 to their pyre. And he's got regenerate stamina twice as quickly as usual. And they do bonus damage. Lovely. Have we seen Lendl's bio? If not, well, here it is. Okay. Oh, we can use Tizo. Good. Okay. I think we should use... Well, it's only fair, since they've got that beef, we should lead off with Tizo.
Tizo.
Let's see. All 3 of them are nomads. So they don't have any flyers, so let's go ahead and pick Hamatha as well. Who could do with a talisman. Let's give her some bonus damage. And oh, that's right, we can't use Jody when we use Pamitha. Okay, let's use Ray then. Let's give her the Moon Crest.
It is done.
I don't like the way that Lendl spoke to Tizo. Tizo is my friend.
Nightwings, the wicked fiend you serve is an affront. He denied my rightful freedom in my moment of triumph. I shall never forgive him, or any of you.
That's fine. Not asking for your forgiveness.
Now begin. The Nightwings are the first to strike.
That's how we do.
Now. Ray threw it in.
I keep forgetting to use the toss.
Hold still, you misbegotten little pox! We're not finished with you yet.
Tizo utters Lendl a slew of the absolute worst imp profanity.
Your curses could not possibly affect me any further, you foul spawn. For you've taken everything from me already. But if I am to be trapped in this forsaken hole with you for the remainder of my days, then I shall see to it that yours shall be as doleful as my own.
Yeah, We'll see about
Lendl
that.
certainly enjoys a rousing speech, though talk means nothing in thou utterly brazen.
I don't know about that. Oh man, they got me. Oh crap. Oh crap. Oh crap. Ah!
Pyre weakens.
Oh, so easy.
Now plunge into the flames. Onward thus
Okay.
to greater glory. Extinguish now their fire.
Okay.
Absolution.
Can do. Oh wow. Lucky them, they've got one
Right
left.
is nearly ended.
I just gotta toss it in. Oh man.
All for
Okay.
naught.
Come on, there we go.
It is done. Fine, yes, the night winds did prevail.
You could sound a little happier about
What
it.
a crushing victory it was.
Like I said, that's how
The
we do.
fight is ended.
Tizo is very pleased that you prevailed, but wishes to make a quick exit at this time. Blast! Where did he go? Where did he go? That infernal imp! It is a monster in disguise, a fiend! Come to torment me until the day I die. Lendl storms off in a fit of anger. Tizo reappears once the coast is clear and expresses his gratitude again. What Lendl said before, if Tizo truly is a descendant of Haug the Swallow, then he has quite the legacy to live up to. Let's see, Haug the Swallow, first of the 8 scribes of the Book of Rites, known as the Gracious or the Accursed. An imp of rare intellect, he showed compassion to Solimer after he fell into exile. Well, that's right. Gol Golathanian and Haub were the ones who brought Solium back to health after his descent. Okay.
Bask now in the wisdom of the scribes.
So, Ray, no level up. Tizo's got a way to go. And Pantha, not quite. Okay.
Until the next right.
That's the way it works. Oh boy. Alright. You return to the wagon after you and your fellow exiles prevailed against the accusers and find Volfred waiting for you there. Well done back there, my boy. You are serving your companions well. Now then, I've something that I wish to share with you, if you've a moment. We have discussed the plan of which we're all a part. I have a means of measuring our progress toward the goal of it. 27%. Huh, somehow it got higher. I'd like for you to have a look at it. First, let's determine where the rites may take us next. Look forth. I expect you shall again see several shining stars, where once you saw but one. Okay. Let's see where the stars beckon. Actually, you know what? I think I'm gonna call it here for now. and we'll pick this up again next time. So, as ever, thanks for giving me your time and attention. If you enjoyed it, a like is appreciated, a comment or subscription more so. If you do subscribe, please remember to ring the bell so you get notifications on updates, and yeah, we'll see you next time. For now, this is November Bravo, over and out.